because I feel like if you play, it's like Bo is an Inter. Like, right, by the same standards you say Dandy was an Inter, then it means that Bo is a bad player. And I would die on the hill that say that he's one of the best jungles we have in the world at the moment. And he could even be a generational talent. But the reason it's never going to work is because you got to put the resources.
Sabaton, you don't realise how hot that was,
Yeah,
bro.
that's a hot take.
You just touched the sun, bro.
Yeah.
That's what you
By the
just
way,
touched.
I think
Holy
we should.
shit.
I think for real, we should just spin this into your hot take. That should be your hot take. Dandy
Holy
is one of the best. No, I mean Bo is one of the best junglers in the world. Go hot take. Hit me with it.
I mean, what else is to say? It's like, is it just a jungle that like he did it? It just needs. I think that there are some players, that like are extremely gifted. And you'll never see it because the way they play is not at the starting point of the dependency chain in League of Legends. If you're a good mid, it's easy. You get mid prio, that's the start of the chain of anything in League of Legends. If your bot lane is average and you have mid prio, the bot lane is better. Look at any team that has a great mid lane in the history of the game. If you are a jungle based on invading and invalidating the enemy jungle and playing off the edge, first, you need mid prio, and you need people that are ready to move with you. It means that there is a political warfare in the locker room that you need to have with your coach and your teammate. It is because I don't think there is a lot of ADCs that like to play, Xayah and go 0-0-0 and be minus 15 CS because there is a Kindred in the jungle that's taking the... There is very, very few, like at least in the West, I don't know a lot of ADCs that are like, guys, drag me to the enemy nexus. I'll be very happy at the end of the day. Flackhead is probably like this. Kobe was a player like this, but I think there is plenty of players that don't even know how to play the game if the game is not moving toward them. And you can see clearly in this summer split, this is in the last 3 years is the time of history in the game design where the ADCs have the least amount of proximity with the rest of the team. They're just left on an island, and you see plenty of like top level ADCs that don't do anything because they don't know what to do because they're not supposed to be left alone. So because of this, I feel like it's so easy to put the blame on someone like Bo because nobody has been able to pull a system where we move with them and we try to play on the edges. Because to play the play style he wants to, you need players that are able to execute very, very good dives, that are able to sacrifice waves to move on a timing, a jungle timing, meaning your wave is like frozen or something, you're still gonna move because it doesn't matter. You're gonna win back more later on, but you need to trust that. You need to be able to play with the vision in the bushes in the jungle perfectly. Nobody does that, especially in Europe. Like, look at the games, right? Like, you have literally zero mid laner that like to play with their jungle aside from Niski, and even Niski does it like way worse than probably someone like Xiao or Doinbi was doing it. So I feel like it is so upsetting for me that you have this guy that can go close to 70% win rate, like it's showmaker level of win rate as a jungle, and play this level of skirmishes on stage, has an off-roll ADC that's better than 90% of the ADCs in EU West, has smashed consistently people facing them in LPL with Doinbi, and say, no, he's not good. So it's literally, you have Mbappe, you put him like, midfielder, and you're like, nah, it doesn't do well. Because in our team, we put the number 9 in the midfield, and then we call it a day. So I would accept that he's not the most versatile player, but saying that a non-versatile player is bad, no, he's just non-versatile.
You want to get this one, Thorin?
I mean, put it this way. I actually do think it's a fire take because, like, the obvious angle is this. People simultaneously tell me Bo sucks, but then they also agree his teammates all suck. So which is it? Like, if I'm imagining this world, imagine a world where last year Bo comes into the league, but he's not playing on Vitality. He's playing on G2. Bro, you don't think he would have just tortured the whole league with all the winning lanes? He would have destroyed, like, the joke is he'd probably be the MVP because you'd all vote him MVP. He'd win the first 10 minutes every time. Like, I actually don't think it's a terrible take. Obviously, the problem is people are going to go mad because he hasn't done it in the officials in LEC, so they're going to think it doesn't count. What do you think, Kira? Come on.
Right, I'm going to tell you why. Okay, so I have literally watched all of Bo's career, even the dog shit stuff back in LDL, right? Okay, now I knew Bo was a skilled player because you can get the pro views and it's for games in LDL as well, right? He's a mega skilled player, right? But here's why that's up. Because Bo was not doing that in LDL. Then he joins Doinbi and fucking critically crisp as well, right? And all of a sudden, this guy's just the messiah. And if you watch the pro views, he's being pinged around the map like Minesweeper. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, is he being told what to do? Now, you can't tell, because you obviously have not got voice comms, but Doinby and Crisp are literally pinging exactly. And then you see Doinby starting to move. He's like a shark with blood in the water, and he moves in, and he starts farming up, and he's on Olaf, and he gets all those insane gold leads. And you know what? There isn't that many players that if you gave him the gold lead would be as good as he is. But you've seen it that he is deficient in so many other ways that he requires like a Doinby and a Crisp to, for some strange reason, to make effective decision making from in comp. The second reason is when he came to like Europe, I am like sympathetic to a lot of his period. The Vitality period, he has like a bunch of like good and bad. It's like a more of a mixed tunnel. But by the time he's in like K Corp, now I do not think Sakin is a good player, but there are literal game sections where like Sakin has Prio and Tristana, and Bo just thinks he can get both scuttles. For I don't know if he just thinks that other like players like not in the server. It's like there's no version of the game you're playing in which like that can be true. And it's like rather than getting the correct reset and going top to fix Cabo's lane because he's in a counter, he then is late to top. The other person gets a reset and is beaten there first. It's like there isn't a set of conditions where that's correct jungling. So you either know that that's like what you have to do, or you don't. And I can be critical of it. So in a skill sense, like Bo is like in a shortlist of one of the most like skilled players as well. That by the way, that year of LDL was nuts. It was like Bo, Jun, and Aki. By the way, like it was a crazy fucking year of LDL junglers, and they're all mega skilled in different ways. But he has for me, he's got a fucking like a problem in terms of like decision making, and particularly by the way, decision making under pressure. Like in the context of like if you have like a Baron or like a Dragon setup, and he sees like an engage or something, he'll like snap, like take it, even if his like team aren't in like positions for it. Now again, he doesn't speak English all that well. I'm sympathetic to that, but I've seen so much of it now. I'm not even one of those folks, like, I agree with Thorin. He could be great on, like, a great team, because it would, like, make up for a lot of these deficiencies. But I think it's way too colorized in terms of, like, what I've seen, what he thinks was, like, good decision-making and, like, on a bad team. And it's, like, not even just desperation plays, it's just, like, I don't even know what you would call it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I say, he's not versatile. So if you put him in a control environment where he has to make, like, I would say, rational decisions based on tempo, and he has to play conservative, he doesn't know how to play without a lead. I think that's a player that's obviously a diamond in the rough, because you have the skill. Like the most important skill in League of Legends is fighting. Like if you're able to contest space and not die, pretty much you're gonna be better. You look at like all the leading teams in the history of the game, it always falls back to like fighting. I think that's why T1 had so many like leading seasons, just because they're so good at contesting space. But I give you the point of like him probably needing to learn a lot, but I still feel like it is impossible that someone that plays that well the game at the core, like they're champions and moving like arena mode, and just bad because like making the decision of not going on 2 scuttles when you don't have prio is really a toddler choice, right? So you're gonna tell me, oh yeah, the coaches in Europe haven't been able to make him understand and adapt. Sure, and I think that's normal. Saying he's not able to do it, I think is an overstatement by a landslide, and I think we should literally give him the benefit of the doubt. I still want to see him play. Like, he probably will never play. It's probably like one of the lost, like Dopa in the list of these guys that we'll never see. But I think that he's one of these guys that could have been it and will probably never be, because some careers are destroyed by a rough start, and I think that has been like kind of it for him. But I still think that if you watch him play and watch him shot call, as a jungle, I watched enough to say that if you have a jungle that cuts enemy jungle, skirmish him to death, takes 2 of his camps, dive the bot lane, go back, catch him again, dive the bot lane again, and then goes into official games and is literally just invading without prio, there is something that's wrong. Because it means that he has the perfect instinct, and then you put it into a logical framework where he has to like play by rules, and the guy is completely lost. So there is some work to be done. But saying that he's bad, I think is really like terrible. And I think that because he fights so well, he has all the potential to be one of the best in the world. Maybe he isn't, and maybe it's an overstatement, but I think that the fighting skill is always the ceiling of all the best players. Like you look at Yonkos, the brain is 300 IQ, but the fighting is, in China, it would be a 4 out of 10. And that's the problem. Like if he goes to China and plays,
Yes.
he's gonna get out skirmished because it's just five versus 5 at grubs, and whoever is the best at fighting is gonna win. So Bo would thrive in such an environment. I don't think that like a very well calculated decision is gonna do anything for the players that can't fight at the end of the day.
I would even say that's also why I think the LPL, sadly, was the best place for him. Because in the LPL, they will take mega talents like that and just keep swapping you around until you get to the team where it makes sense. So it's not just that it had to be Doinby or people who wanted to be Nisky. Remember, he tried it with Perks. That's a pretty good angle to try it with a mid lane that can help you. The obvious one he never got a chance to try with because he's retired is, I think someone like Nuke Duck could have been fucking brilliant with this guy. He's another guy where every jungler just starts to figure out his patterns and his roams and when he can play and when he has when you don't, when he can invade. So I think people like these who have like a bit of a didactic method would help someone like that. But I also agree, the reason why the LPL one's so obvious is, bro, that's exactly why the LPL is a mystery to foreigners. Because what happens is they watch it and they go like, but how could Jun ever be replaced by Wei? Wei's worse than Jun. You're like, oh, you're right. But the joke is, Jun it was allowed to just be a guy who was, like Bo, is a monster for the first 15 minutes, and then he can just taper off, because we win the game in the old BLG. They used to just win every fucking game like 22 minutes or something. So at that point, that worked. But by the way, when that didn't work anymore, they didn't go, hey, Jun, you got like a few months. They go, get the fuck out, you can't play anymore. And they just brought in Wei, who's a way worse jungler, but he plays the style that works for them now. They've managed to like readapt and integrate the lineup, and now the strengths are back again, and they look fucking awesome. I think if you took this guy over there again, like Milky Way, you just put him on a not that good team and then keep moving players around, you'll find the mix eventually. Because that's the other problem is it's kind of like what happened with Dardoch in NA. Like, I don't think I have some genius eye test, but for me, from day one I saw that guy, I was like, bro, yeah, everyone has to keep trying with this guy. He's just so much better than all the native NA talents. Like, it's not a troll. If you put him on Lee Sin, he'll just create like 4 ganks that no one else even saw in the game. So that player, it's like, look, if it doesn't work in my team, if I'm the next team, give me a try. Let me have a go with him and let me see if I can put him with the right support or the right coach. To me, Bo is that sort of talent where the difference is in the LPL, they've got enough teams, they'd figure it out. The LEC, the problem is we gave him 2 chances and one of them was that fucking shit Carmine Corp lineup. Like, that's brutal. Like, that can't be the end of your career after that. Come on. There's got to like be another team out there who's willing to try. Because if not, I can already tell you what's going to happen. It'll just be like all those players everyone thinks failed, but they don't follow the career. I keep telling people, are you guys aware that Vikla still plays? He's in the LPL. Yeah, I know you guys don't. You go, Vikla, didn't he suck on Fly? Yeah, he did. He fucking sucked on FlyQuest, didn't he? He fed all up. I tell you what, he's already way better back in the LPL. The way better player. So to me, if it doesn't work for Bo in Europe, and at the moment, I agree with you, it doesn't sound like anyone's going to take a chance on him, unfortunately. And the players who he needed to vouch for him, by the way, were people like Perks and Upset, who don't really have a lot of say in who their teammates are right now. Maybe he has to go home, but he could be so good in the LPL. Because if you think about it, the LPL jungle is fucking a hands role. There's 2 players. There's the player who plays for the team, and they're the bitch, or there's the player who's just hands, and those players are fucking insane. Like, even the ones who got memed on back in the day, mate, MLXG can start fucking typing 8,000 APM anytime he wants to. It's half his problem is doing that all the time. They're not the brain jungler region, so I do think he could definitely go back and be a star in the LPL, even though everyone thinks he failed in the West. It's sad, actually. Do we have one more take?
Well, just to add on one thing like that, it's unfortunate that he did actually just miss both the jungler whisperers just because of the direction that, like, in terms they miss like Home and Tabi, who can just turn any mechanical jungler into just like a macro god. Like, Kanavi would not have been Kanavi without Home. He was just a misguided like macro player. You can go watch the original games. Like, he's literally taking farm off his laners. Like, the guy. So like, it is unfortunate in that sense that his life could have had a very different direction.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.